Travis Thom, my friend, how are you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing well, thank you. Just taking off a few sweaters, as you saw, because it's cold outside and hot on the inside.
Yeah, it's funny. It is too here, and well, in Phoenix, where I'm at, or I guess Tempe right now, it's really cold in the morning, and then by this time of day, it's hot. So I'm like literally wearing a t-shirt and shorts right now because it's bright and sunny outside. But in the morning, it's cold for me, anyways. What's the temperature like there? You're in Albuquerque, so what's that like?
It's like 45 here, and it feels like 35. So, but I've got this nice studio where I create my Facebook campaigns, and so it's actually almost a little too warm. I've got this nice heater cranking up.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, so you just said the magic word, which is Facebook, right? My one of my favorite subjects, and I know it's likely your favorite work subject as well. And so I thought, man, I wanted to dive into it. One of the reasons I asked you to come on here, same reason why you so graciously joined us at Next Level Agents Live 2018 was to share some of your expert knowledge on Facebook ads, especially in the real estate world. So we're going to go into that. Like, I definitely want to dig deep on Facebook ads, but can we back up a minute and tell me, like, okay, so you own a marketing company. You are known as the guy when it comes to Facebook ads in the real estate space. But how did you get there? Like, who's Travis Thom, and how do you have that credibility?
Yeah, a great question. So, at the first, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah, always fun talking to you. I started off in real estate when I was about 18 years old. I actually grew up in a real estate family, kind of a second generation real estate family. My grandfather was in real estate as more of kind of an investor. My dad owned a radio station in his early 20s, and he switched it from rock and roll to country. Yeah, and I was born about a year later. He was about 27, 28 years old. And he sold that radio station. So he sold it and then decided, well, what do I do next? He moved from Colorado to Albuquerque, and he wanted to get into commercial real estate. And he took a CCIM class, back then. And on the first or second class, it talked about the time value of money. And that was like a golden nugget aha moment for him. And so he started getting into buying real estate contracts, private mortgages, and basically the time value of money of going, well, people have real estate contracts that they own and they want to basically sell. So he had some money to then buy those at a discount and then broker them, right? And then sell them for a higher price. So he started getting into that, and I was just a little kid at the time. And then he eventually got an escrow company where he was handling, the payments of real estate contracts and those things. So my babysitters, when I was growing up, were all real estate agents. And then we lived on this community that there's only like 2 houses built, and we were surrounded by like 15, 20 acres of just cottonwood trees. And it was kind of like a farmland, kind of atmosphere. And then eventually some other homes started coming in. So there's a custom home builder that moved into the right of us, and I became friends with their son. Then there's a mortgage lender that was kind of the biggest mortgage lender in the time, and they moved in basically the house in front of us. And then a builder that was building UPS buildings that he would lease out to a commercial real estate developer.
Wow.
And then a real estate agent down the street, and then our family. So all my friends and everyone I grew up with, they were all in the real estate community in one shape or form of another. And I remember growing up basically in open houses and in new construction developments, walking around. So it was in the blood. And when I was going through school, I wanted to be in marketing. And I fell in love with motion pictures and directing. So I went off to San Francisco to the Academy of Art Institute to learn major motion picture directing and marketing. And so they would have these marketing guys from these San Francisco marketing advertising agencies come in and basically teach us what their firms were doing with marketing, and it was excruciating. It was tough. I would have to write ad copy for radio, television, email, and print 3 times a week for 3 different types of products, and they were like absolutely brutal, in terms of their critique with us.
Dude,
they didn't hold anything back.
I know that you told me this part of the story, but I think I forgot about this part of the story. You told me when we had lunch together in Albuquerque in January about the school, but right now what I'm picturing in my head is that TV show Mad Men. I'm like, does Travis walk around with like a fedora and like smoking cigarettes all day long and saying completely inappropriate things to everybody around him and drinking whiskey all day long? That's what I'm picturing, which is funny because obviously as I've gotten to know you over the last year, couldn't be farther from you. But
right.
Like that, when you said that and started telling me about your school experience, I'm like, I'm picturing Mad Men right now. Like clearly I'm watching too much Mad Men recently, but so that's what you were literally going to school for, that and learning that.
Yeah. It was the Mad Men guys that were teaching me basically. Right. So
wow.
I would write, an ungodly amount of ad copy all week long. And then in the evening, then I was doing the motion picture and directing. So my friends were working with people from Pixar. Steven Spielberg was kind of picking off a few of these, students. And more, I started to see in the film industry how difficult it was to really get a job. And I was going to, no matter how talented you are, it's going to take a long time.
Yeah.
And I got really anxious about I wanted to work. I just wanted to get into it. I just wanted to start in the business. So about a year into it, I told my parents, I said, guys, I feel like I've gotten enough marketing education. I want to come back home and I want to get into real estate. And that was a big transition because my parents were, kind of like, we really want you to go the advertising route because, that's what they wanted me to do. That's what I wanted to do. But I came home and I asked my dad, would you hire me? Can I work for your company? He said, absolutely not. Right. You're not going to work for my company. You can work for some other companies. And then when you get your feet wet, maybe we'll talk about it.
He's like, go screw up their company, learn what to do, and then come back and we'll put you to work, son.
Pretty much. And so, that's fair. And so I was like, being a dad now, I totally understand what he was doing. So, so I went and I got a position at Coldwell Banker, and at the time it was the biggest real estate company in our area. It had like 800 agents, and they were the leading force during that time. But I was the youngest real estate agent based in the state. Wow. And everyone else in my office was around 62 years old. That's kind of the average age. And so they kept telling me, you need to go door knock. You need to call expireds, right? You need to send out massive amount of postcards. And I'm like, I don't really have any money. I didn't know what to do, how to start. So the first 2 years were pretty brutal. I door knocked on several thousand homes. And it wasn't until I actually went on this kind of trip with my family up to Colorado, where we've got a family ranch, and my brother and I, when we're up there, we each have a couple axes to choose from, and we would basically chop wood when we were up there. That was kind of our chores. If we're up there, we have to work. So we would be chopping wood and hauling wood back to the cabin, to the main house. And I was telling them, I think I'm just going to quit this whole real estate thing. I know mom and dad have kind of supported me. And he's like, dude, you can't, man. He said, let's back up here. Let's talk about it. So we kind of reverse engineer, like, what was it that I was doing? And I said, well, I'm door knocking. And he said, so what do you provide? I said, I don't really provide anything. I just say, hey, do you want to buy or sell? And then they just, tell me to kind of screw off. And so I go about my business, and, I'm in my suit that doesn't fit, right? My patent leather dress shoes, which it was painful to really walk in, in any kind of like 95-degree heat, right? Yeah. So he and at the time, my brother was in marketing and designing websites and certain things like that. So he and I got together. We spent basically this, in the middle of this like blizzard, chopping wood and back and forth, we designed this little plan, and it's basically this flyer on this website called "How to Make Those 4 Years Very, Very Profitable." And it was basically about how college students can buy a home with a kiddie condo loan and with their parents, using their parents' credit to get into a home. And it was an FHA loan at the time, is like very little down, and how they can turn that into an investment piggy bank while they're in college to rack up enough equity, or have basically their parents rent it out, or they sell it at the end of the 4 years, or whatever it might be. And we broke it down as like a definition kind of how-to guide, like what is appreciation? What is equity? What is a mortgage? And showed these charts and graphs and kind of walked them through this little pamphlet. And my office was next to this university. It had like 27,000 students, 30,000 staff. And so it was kind of this aha moment that he and I came up with this plan. And he said, give it just a couple more months before you put in your card and tell mom and dad that like, you just can't do this, right? And it worked. I did like full guerrilla marketing all over the university. I printed this is the last ditch effort, like of all the money that I had, which is something that I've done time and time again. I put like everything on black, and I'm like, this better work.
Yes.
Yeah. So I put it all on black, spent all my money on this website that my brother designed, printing cost for these flyers. And the flyers basically redirected everybody to this website that said, get the free list of homes that qualify for this kiddie condo loan deal, right? Where you can, buy a home for very little down with your parents. And I started getting all these leads from it. And so it was like 3 or 4 weeks in, I got this one lead, and there's this girl that was going to school. She was leaving to go to NASA in the next 2 years, that they were like basically sponsoring her to go to the university, and her parents co-signed. I took her to this condo townhouse development, and she bought one condo there. And then another couple of group of leads came in, and they said, we're looking for something that meets this. I said, perfect. I've got this condo development that I can walk you to. It wasn't my condo development, but it was like just right next to the university. So it made perfect sense. Well, 4, 5, 6 buyers later, the developer said, Travis, you've brought more buyers to our development than anyone else has, than our own listing agents have. Come inside for a second. So they brought me into this condo. And it's a 17-unit condo development. Their sales team was there, and he fired the entire sales team in front of me and said, here's a listing agreement. I want you to sign it. I'm going to give you basically like a higher percentage if you sell this whole development out in the next 4 months. And so I said, all right, let's do it. The sales team was, obviously pissed.
Probably just a little.
Just a little, yeah. But that's how these developers were. I mean, they are like really kind of aggressive.
It's cutthroat.
Yeah, and they were very cutthroat, as they learned about 5 different developments later. And so that kind of snowballed into basically me creating landing pages for different developments that we had, and it snowballed into me being in this niche where I started winning all these developments. And I eventually, a couple years later, I had 271 listings from just all starting from that.
271 listings.
Yeah, 271 listings. I grew my team. I had about 4 people about a year after I started getting the first 2. And then I grew my team to about 30 people. I was on the top 30 under 30 Realtor Magazine finalist list when I was about 28. We were doing a pretty healthy production size. We grew into 3 different companies. We had a property management company that had around 150 properties. We had our new construction condo sales team, our residential sales team, and then my wife and I then created a home tending company. And then we had our marketing and sales division. And what we kind of learned throughout all of this is that we had this rinse and repeat type of strategy and pattern. That if we created And the funny thing was, a lot of these developments didn't have a budget for marketing at the time, right? They spent it all on just building everything. And so it was up to us with like a really small budget, like a couple $100, to put together a slick marketing package, right? Which is really difficult.
Yeah.
So we started to learn how to build our own landing pages for each development and then drive traffic to it from Facebook. And we, just did a horrible job at first, but it was working. I mean, we didn't really know what we were doing, but we were getting hundreds of leads every single month. And then we started learning, well, we need to be able to actually email these leads, but we can't do it one by one. So then we set up like an automation process and learning about retargeting, which was very new and in its infancy. And it's funny. So this is kind of like at the height of everything when it was kind of crazy. I was going to propose to, which is now my wife, Tony, and I wanted it to be a secret, right? And so I had this big plan. So I started going online and I started looking up engagement rings because I'm about 4 or 5 months out from proposing. And doing this process is really where I kind of found our model that we use today in our Facebook advertising agency and what we teach in our Facebook training and coaching program, which is, so I kind of go back to this moment because it was like this aha moment. So I looked at about 12 different websites for engagement rings. And because to be honest, I'm too lazy to kind of drive to a store, right? So, and it's the digital world, right? I'm just going to look up rings online.
The guy chopping wood is too lazy to drive to a store. I love it.
Well, yeah, I mean, the axe wasn't too far.
Yeah.
So I was about a couple of days, deep into looking at all these different websites for engagement rings, and I hadn't made a decision yet. But all of a sudden, about a week or so later, I start seeing this ad follow me around all over, and it's following me on Facebook and a couple other places online. That it's from this one website, and it basically talks about how the artists are designing these rings and crafting these rings. And so I click on it and it goes back to one of the 12 websites that I looked at. And I kind of go through and I'm like, oh, that looks like a nice one. So I favorite one, but I'm like, it's busy, I got to go. And then a couple of days later, I see a different ad that's an interview with one of the co-founders of it. And they talk about how they're sourcing the rings and where they're getting the rings from, right? And then this kind of goes on for a couple of months where I see about 8 different ads telling the story of how they design the rings, their core values, right? The how it came to be. And so all of these beautiful moments and then some testimonials kind of thrown in here and there. So no other company is retargeting me, right? Is actually showing me ads. This is the only company, and this is a big purchase. It's a big emotional purchase, kind of a, maybe once in a lifetime for some people kind of purchase. And it's a big transitional life stage. And so I bought the ring from that company. And Tony did say yes, thankfully, right? So
awesome.
I kind of attribute the strategy that we built based on falling in love and my online experience of going through this, that I bought that ring, and it was a big investment, big purchase for me, and an emotional one. And it made me think, wow, this is exactly like real estate. Real estate is a big emotional purchase. It's a big transitional life stage. It's something that the decision cycle goes on for several months, right? It's not something that you instantly wake up one day and say, bam, I'm just going to buy a house, right? Or I'm going to buy a ring, right? Whatever it might be. There's a lot that goes into it. So, and there's a lot of trust building, and you have to create that bond and really be pulled in. So for me, I thought, you know what, let's test this out on a couple of our properties. So we at the time had built our own single property websites inside of our company. And we started working with WordPress and we had our own design team, and we started building all of these things. And I said, you know what, let's go ahead and put in what's called a Facebook pixel at the time, as a little snippet of code. It just, had kind of come out, put it into a few of our landing pages and property websites we had, and we drive traffic to it. And then when people left, then they would be retargeted with an ad that said, let's make an appointment, or thanks so much for checking out the property. Would you like to arrange a tour? And it would follow them around, right, and build the brand. And then from there, then we would run another ad that talked more about, what we do and how we help people. And so it was a very crude type of campaign with just a handful of retargeting ads. And that's what started the framework of what we do now. And we do it, at a much higher level now. But that started to get a lot of attention because we got a lot of leads from it. We got then some different outside construction companies and new construction developments that said, can we hire you to consult us? And so more and more, I started getting more demand built up for this and started consulting a little bit on that. But then what was funny is our single property websites we built, we actually turned that into a software as a service product separately from the brokerage. Because I thought, there's nothing else out there like this that has really beautiful websites that are built for lead generation. It was always kind of like you either get kind of a shitty looking website that it is built for lead generation, right? It doesn't really showcase the property in a healthy light, and it doesn't really do your brand justice. Or you have a really beautiful website that's really nice, and it's either too expensive or then it's not built for lead generation. So we decided we'd build that. And then that's when I started writing blog articles and videos on Facebook about how to use our strategies that we use in our old brokerage that they can use with these single party websites. And what's funny is more people said, tell me about the Facebook stuff. Forget about the single property websites. Let's get into the Facebook stuff. So that's what kind of spawned everything. And then now we are, about 4 or 5 years later. And we're a Facebook advertising agency across the world, and we've generated over 175,000 leads from Facebook and Instagram and Messenger. And it's been a lot of fun.
Dude, so much I want to say about this, like so many different lessons here. I could go back. Okay, so you said one thing. So you started saying our brokerage, but you were with a brokerage being. So when did you break off and start your own real estate company? What was the name of that? I think you said it was Venture Realty Group, if I remember correctly. Was that your team name too, and then it became your brokerage name?
No, so I broke off from when the month I turned 21. I decided, you know what? I've spent about 2 years in kind of a larger organization, and I felt like I had some pretty good insight. I felt like I had pretty good insight of what it takes to run a brokerage, right? We all do. And my father-in-law kind of coined this term of incompetent exuberance. And he meant it with like all sincerity, but that sometimes there's a little bit more of I can do anything and everything and take on the world. And then you get into it and you have to either adapt or die and understand exactly kind of where you fit in that scenario. So when I was 21, I said, I want to run my own shop because I want to have my own type of marketing, my own type of campaigns. And I felt like some of the old ways were just a little too archaic. And I was being, I had to fit in this box. And I just don't fit in a box. I have to think outside.
You're way too tall to fit in a box, bro.
Yeah, I'm way too tall. My axe doesn't fit either. So I had to break out of that. So when I was 21, I created Venture Realty Group. I was the qualifying broker, and it was just, we had a 400 square foot office, a tiny little thing in downtown. My barber shop was right next door. That's how I chose the shop. You can tell that there's like a lot of intellectual processing that went through that. I was like, I can get a haircut, look sharp, and then come next door, and I'm good to go. I can take on business now.
I can really relate to that need to making sure that your office is strategically located close to a barber. So that speaks volumes to your level of sophistication and style, and versus myself. So that's awesome, man. I love hearing that story though, Travis, because what I heard a couple different things, which is number one, if I could just recap for some of our listeners here, because there's folks listening to this podcast that are anywhere from brand new agent, struggling, experienced and struggling, or absolutely killing it. They've got a team and they want to go to the next level, right? Everybody wants to do something a little bit better. But what I've heard is this theme time and time again with every guest I've had on this podcast, which is I was willing to do whatever it took. Like, you went and knocked on doors, even though you absolutely dreaded it. You went all in financially, right? You put all your chips on the table, which is also another theme I continuously hear. Not that we should always have all of our chips on the table, and yet that's a recurring theme I see with people that have gone somewhere and done something of significance, is that at some point, backs against the wall, chips are on the table. And I really love hearing that about you. I didn't know that part of the story. Obviously, I love the Mad Men part of the story as well. But dude, you've done so many different things here, and it seems to me like everything that you've gone and created for yourself, for your own real estate team, or eventually into brokerage, you then went to the really good stuff. Other people said, hey, Travis, can you help me with that? And then you found a way to provide that as a service to other people as well in our industry, which I absolutely love, man.
Yeah. Well, I thank you. I appreciate it. It's a couple of things that really stuck out to me, which was a lot of the time when I was door knocking and doing all these things, I didn't have any leverage. There was nothing for me to really provide that was of value. And, at the end of the day, when you're, as Stephen Covey, the 7 Highly Effective Habits author, there's kind of a told chapter on there, which is that you need to be able to make emotional deposits in your prospect. If you're not, and you try and withdraw, right, get something back, it's basically going to be there's nothing going to be there, right? It's going to be kind of emotionally bankrupt. So there's nothing really that you can win out of that scenario. You need to be able to have different types of ways to provide reciprocity and value, and position yourself as an authority and expert figure in whatever it might be. If it's short sales or investors or for sell by owners, whatever type of niche that you can focus on, to give them significant amount of value, and then go for the ask. Because the law of reciprocity, right, of being able to give some item of value. And that's what a lot of our Facebook ad campaigns are kind of designed around.
Yeah.
Was, if we go back to my little flyer that led to a website, I was educating them first. And you have to think about, what is the level of awareness for most of your prospects? And so there's a book I actually have on my shelf, written by Eugene Schwartz, who's one of the most creative, brilliant copywriters that ever existed. And it's I think it's called Marketing Breakthrough, or I'll have to look it up. But it's based on, a lot of it is, what is the awareness level of the prospect? And you need to really speak to them by giving them information, setting the stage, and give, and then ask, right? It's kind of like Gary Vee's, jab, jab, right hook, right? I mean, the same type of philosophy and formula, and how that carries over then the Facebook ads is very similar, right? Give them a seller's guide, a market report, a list of homes, right? Whatever it might be that you can give them first. And then once they're in your funnel, then that's when you provide a little bit more value, and then start to ask questions, because you've built up that level of trust and that bond and that relationship. Now, for me, on the flip side of things, for anyone that's just getting started, or you're kind of midway through, there's multiple times that I thought of just absolutely giving up, right? And just finding a 9-to-5 job that I could, just survive in. And I found out one of the most important things, which was being able to really, find your strength and do what you love, right? And just dive in as much as you can. And what you don't, you'll be able to either automate those processes or send it to someone that's much better at it than you, right? Smarter people. So I surrounded myself with a lot of bright people. I mean, my wife is, kind of off the charts in terms of, how bright she is. And so I joke, I'm the face and she's the brains, but it's actually she's the brains and the face. So, being able to be surrounded by people that are taking on some of those other items that are really smart, and letting go of your ego, because your ego is going to kill a lot of things, right? And so if you always think that I'm the only one that can do this, which I told myself for a lot of years, like, I'm the only one that knows this, I'm the only one that can do X, Y, and Z. And really, at the end of the day, you're basically kind of slowly killing yourself and not being able to allow yourself to scale and grow. And the more and more I kind of think about it, I'm still today even learning about how to manage different companies, different teams, because we have about 4 different companies that we have. And they're all based on the internet marketing, world, is that as a leader or someone that's growing up to that, you need to be able to free up an enormous amount of your day to be able to be a better manager of the people that can really accomplish the bigger things, right?
Yeah,
You
man, that's to me, and that's the number one thing I see that stops some really great real estate agents from starting what could be a really great team is there's this, hey, I've got to manage it, I've got to do it all, versus, hey, you know what, let me start to scale, let me give up the stuff. There's, first of all, there's actually people that can do stuff better than me. And even if not, like I always go back to the Tim Ferriss idea, which is if you can hire someone to do it 80% as good as you would, then
Right.
they should be doing it, right? And not you. As the founder of the company and the driver of the company, you should be out driving vision and innovation, et cetera. But if I could, I want to go back. You brought up Gary Vee. I was going to bring him up. You made me think of him, jab, 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 right hook. You made me think of Frank Kern with the value stacking. And I'm like, everything, the ring, the company. Like, I'm wondering, was Frank Kern consulting for that company that you ultimately bought the wedding ring from or the engagement ring from? You know what I mean? Because what I saw is you started studying principles in business that were great, not just in the business you were in, but you started studying them and applying them. And man, 271 listings, I don't care who you are and at what time in the real estate cycle, like that's massive. And a 30-person team is massive, especially like it's more heard of today. It was less heard of when you had that team of that size going. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
And obviously you know that. So I think that I don't want that to be downplayed because you were essentially like head and shoulders probably above the vast majority of your peers at a very young age, man. So I learned so much about you just in this last couple minutes.
Well, I got started early, and I my first 3 to 4 years were extremely difficult. There's definitely a lot of times where I was just like, I don't know how people do it. I have no clue. And even during the months where I was like getting more and more listings, it was still I just didn't have. There's always this ebb and flow of your generating leads, you get the leads, and then you start to work on them as prospects, and then you win them as clients. And a lot of people can relate. They're listening to this, that then you lose the time to prospect and lead generate, and you're just focusing on closing that deal, right? And so it's this up and down roller coaster. And so one of the biggest things for me was being able to expand and grow my team and say, I want to be the rainmaker and generate leads, hand them off to people so that they can go through, and I can just continue that. And that's where things really started to change, is I took on more than I could handle. And instead of, like I say, building like a big higher fence, right? Build a longer table. And I was like, yeah, let's grow this puppy. Let's get as many people as we can. And it's funny, during the downturn, right, during the recession, is when we were making the biggest wins.
That's awesome.
Is during the recession. And because we had already set the stage, we had a massive brand awareness because of Facebook. And a lot of people weren't using it in my market. They just didn't know how. So we were taking every listing we had and creating a video about it and running it on Facebook and just saturating our market with our brand. So our lead generation efforts were already really set in place, and a lot of people knew who we were. So it was this unique positioning that even though the downturn was happening and there was a scary time for a lot of people, and we took a hit like a couple of years later because there was certain things within real estate that just happened, but we had some really big wins during that time, and we just had to get better and better with our marketing. One of the things that really stuck out is we had this development we took on that was near foreclosure or bankruptcy. It was this luxury 30-unit luxury development, really beautiful high-end properties, 2 stories, and it was about 15% sold out. And there's a lot of pressure on us because they said, we are about 5 to 6 months away from losing this entire project. We don't have any marketing budget for you guys. And, we the last 3 sales teams only did so much. So we've heard that you guys are the pros, you do it, right? It's a lot of pressure on us. And it's right on the big main street of Route 66. So it was like, there is, I think, over like 25,000 cars a day that drove past this development. So we had our name on it. And the last thing you want is some sort of, news article of like this, foreclosure or bankruptcy, right? With our names on it. So so what we did is we interviewed, there's several people that lived there. And there's kind of different age ranges. There's a professor, there was a younger professional couple, there was a artist and photographer that lived there. And so we went and we kind of door knocked inside this development. We said, do you mind if we do kind of a testimonial video about you living here in the development? And they said, yeah, we'd love to, because we want other people to be in here because it's kind of empty, it's kind of lonely, but we love living here. So we did a whole video series, and we just had a small video camera that we rented. You can go to like rentalens.com or things like that. So we rented this nice video camera for like $150. We had it for like 3 days. So we had a short amount of time, and we hired this kid that was 14 years old from the local high school that he was studying motion pictures and videography. And he was a skateboarder. And so he did a lot of skateboarding videos and, with him and his friends. And we kind of met him through, I forget exactly how we met him, but he would skateboard over to the development. And he was the most amazing videographer at 14 years old. And so we set up all this equipment. It was very, very basic. You can't tell from the videos, but he edited them, put them together, and we had 3 amazing different testimonial videos about why people love living at that development. And what we did is we put some kind of emotional audio behind it, kind of inspirational. And then we created a little landing page that says, download the floor plans and pricing sheet, ran a giant Facebook campaign to it. When I say giant, like at the time, I think we spent like $400, like kind of budget, because that's all we had, So we generated, I think it was several hundred leads that we generated. And then we sent out the videos to them and retargeted them with some of the videos. And then they would see the testimonials of why people lived there. And it resulted in basically selling out that development within, just in the nick of time, within like a 5-month period. We sold out the rest of the development. And because people got to see the power of social proof and people living there. There's something really big about recording your past clients, recording, prospective people that live in certain neighborhoods, and let them tell the story of the community so it can speak to that certain demographic. And we actually narrowed down and said, we want this baby boomer video of why this baby boomer loves living here to be shown to just baby boomers. And we had the young single professional one that we ran individually, and said we want to run this just to people within this age range that live within a 3-mile radius because it's close to the university. So we started running highly relevant video ads to specific audiences, and it got an enormous amount of engagement. And the same thing can be done on a very small budget to any kind of campaign people are doing.
Man, that's awesome. Such a great story. So we've got maybe 15 minutes left at the most, and I promise you I'll get you out of here by the top of the hour. I've got 3 more things for sure I want to cover, maybe a 4th, depending on time. One of them, if we could quickly, like I could see it over your shoulder, tofu, mofu, bofu. Well, I know what tofu is. That's that food that one of my business partners eats because he doesn't eat meat. But but in your world, what is tofu, mofu, and bofu?
So that poster is my wife had that poster made for me because so tofu, mofu, bofu, it stands for top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, because we work in a full funnel format with our Facebook ad campaigns. What that means in Facebook marketing, in kind of an internet lead generation marketing in general, is you have the top of the funnel, which you are kind of sweeping demand by having some sort of ad that's reaching out to people and pulling them in. So that could be a Facebook lead ad, which is kind of like a mini landing page inside of Facebook that gets their name, email, and phone number. And so let's say you're offering a list of homes priced under $275,000 in X market area. That's your top of funnel ad that you're running to a specific audience that they have engaged or they like Realtor.com, Zillow, Trulia, Redfin, interested in buying a house hunting, HGTV, Chip and Joanna Gaines, and maybe a mortgage calculator, right?
Okay.
So we're kind of defining behavioral interests in the targeting. And then for like a life stage, because there's 4 big life stages that most people enter into that are huge influencers on moving and buying a home, which is getting married, getting divorced, having a child, and then getting separated or divorced. So we target those prospects based on a certain life event and then an actual key identifying factors of their behavior. So with that combined, we have a top of funnel ad running to those prospects. We generate a lead, and then we send them into the middle of the funnel, the MOFU, right? Kind of my favorite one. So the middle of the funnel is then retargeting people with a series of different ads, right? It could be testimonial from buyers that have worked with you, could be a video ad, could be an ad that says, check out the list of all the open houses coming up this weekend, or another ad that says, see all the properties that have just hit the market in the past 7 days. Both of those, by the way, get really high click-through rates. So I suggest you guys kind of run some of those as carousel ads, right? Those get some really pure, really good engagement. And then after that, the bottom of the funnel is focused on the conversion. And that's typically an internal process. So you're taking people in through your CRM, sending out text messages and emails. And if you have an ISA that's reaching out, even better. So the full funnel format is something that we highly suggest. And the full funnel format is kind of based after this methodology that I created after I went through the process of buying an engagement ring online and then going through those steps of seeing those ads. And they really persuaded me to make a purchase. So it's, Facebook marketing, a lot of it is built on persuasion and influence. And they have what they call priming and reminding methodology, where you prime them with an initial ad that kind of pull them in, create an audience, and then remind them again and again about the opportunity, and then forecasting what the idea might be to work with you so that you are solving any kind of problem that they might have. And you're positioning yourself as the authority expert and figure. And it's really, it's a simple thing to do. You just need to know the mechanics of it. It can be done with video campaigns, what we call a carpet bombing technique, is you run a video campaign to a wide audience of maybe 400,000 people, let's say, in your market. And anyone that watches 25% or 50% of that video, then you retarget them with a Facebook lead ad offering a list of homes, right, that they can download. So these are different ways to build an audience and then retarget them. So you're doing give value, and basically based on their actual behaviors and habits that they've taken and engaged online with your ads, then retarget them, right? Then get them into your funnel. There's different ways to do it, but yeah, tofu, mofu, bofu, it's kind of one of our favorite things and favorite sayings.
Dude, that's awesome. So, all right. So I want to talk about, number one, your coaching program before we go today. And then I have 2 selfish things left. Number one is just because I love to hear the story, man. You're in New Mexico. I feel like Breaking Bad, the hit show was filmed there. Personally, I'm a bigger fan of Better Call Saul, but that's a different topic. However, Breaking Bad hit show, and I feel like maybe I've seen your for sale sign or something recently on that show when I was flipping through it on Netflix. Tell me about that. How does that happen?
So so it's kind of a funny story. So Breaking Bad was just moving in to Albuquerque, and they were creating this show, and we had taken on this development that was in the Nob Hill area. It's this kind of cool up and coming development area, and I get this call to show one of our properties. And so I show up. It's kind of a cryptic call, and I'm not quite sure exactly, who's going to be there, but it's my job to show up. So I showed up, and this guy walks up, and he looks oddly familiar. And he said, do you mind if we take a tour of the property? I said, yeah, sure thing. So I open up some of the houses, and he's a very kind of dynamic character. And I start to look at him more and more, and I ask him, tell me about yourself. I'm trying to pre-qualify him. what are you doing here? And it's like, oh, I got a new job, new gig here. And so, tell me about it. So I really had to pull this information. Well, it kind of comes together that he's Bryan Cranston. And so, about 2 hours go by of Brian and I walking around this development and talking. And then, he tells me his life story about growing up and his parents were actors and through the process. And so it's a couple days later, we go under contract. And anyways, I spent about a couple of weeks with him going through the process of getting his property ready, getting it painted and getting it staged. And he really wants to go the whole 9 yards. And he's telling me then about, as we start to kind of go in, like, hey, we're filming this show. And so do you mind if we use some of your real estate signs in some of the scenes that we're going to be doing? I was like, hey, that sounds fine to me, because they wanted to, at the time, they wanted to really kind of fully bring in a lot of the local stores and shops and businesses. So so we ordered a whole new batch of signs. We gave them like 5 brand new, fully printed signs of Venture Realty Group, and it had my name and my phone number on there as well. Which you can't do, by the way, anymore. You can't have like a real cell phone number in a show, a TV show, or a movie now. And I'll tell you the reason why. And so, anyways, they put it in the show in several different things. We had like an open house in one, and they actually had a Venture Realty Group agent that got tackled and like wrestled around. And then Jesse Pinkman, when he's buying his aunt's house, which is actually just around the corner from where I live, they had our real estate sign. They pan across it and they stop kind of on my name. Well, a couple weeks later, I started getting voicemails from like Germany, from just kind of all over the world. And one of them really sticks out. It was like a 3 a.m. And it's this voicemail from this woman that's like saying, kind of slurred, Travis, I want to buy Jesse's, and she kind of goes on, and you hear this kid in the background saying, Mom, hang up the phone. It's like this teenager yelling at his mom because she's,
oh man,
yeah, she maybe Netflix and drank a little bit too much and watched the show. And so my phone number is on that episode for life. It's like episode 2, like season 2, episode 2, whatever it is. And then they used it in a couple other shows. And then now it's also in Better Call Saul in a couple of episodes as like a kind of like an Easter egg and an ode to Breaking Bad. So what happened was then Bryan Cranston introduced me to Jesse Pinkman as Aaron Paul. So we then sold Aaron Paul a condo next to our office building, and good times. Really nice guys. They were great to work with, and when they all moved away, it was like kind of heartbreaking because we felt so kind of tied to the show, and our signs were in it and all of that. So it was a fun time. But we got news they might be making the Breaking Bad movie back in Albuquerque, and so Aaron and Paul might be coming back to their properties to kind of hang out. So who knows? We might hang out again. You never know.
That'd be big time. So maybe another time you can tell me about why phone numbers aren't allowed anymore on signs in movies or TV shows. I guess
because I was getting a ton of calls and voicemails that I can't really repeat. So, but my cell phone number, which is still my cell phone number, actually is tied to that episode in Breaking Bad.
Too funny. All right, man. We had a couple minutes left. Tell me about. So I'm going to put up a link. I'm going to put it in the comments here inside the Facebook group, and I'll make sure it goes out on the show notes too with the podcast with the podcast release. But tell me about elevated coaching. Like, so you're training us. I'm a realtor, right? I run a real estate team. Not too different than what you were doing before you went full time on this side of the business, or one of your businesses. Tell me about that. Like, why would I sign up? What am I going to learn? Why would I do this? Like, tell me about that.
Yeah. So, for us, one of the biggest wins and the biggest things that I really love is being able to teach people. And because I'm no longer a qualifying broker, I don't have a team. So, what I love to do is be able to actually help people achieve their goals in what I love doing, which is real estate lead generation, right? What it comes down to. So we run high level Facebook ad campaigns all around the world. We've worked with ad budgets of 50,000 a month or 10,000 a month, 5,000 or $1,000 a month, and we create these really advanced campaigns and different strategies. And so we get to see, we have the privilege of the data to see exactly what works and what doesn't work kind of all around. Does this headline work in Portland? Does it work in Denver? Does it work in Canada or Mexico City, right? All those different things and the different targeting and different things. So with that data and that information, we turn around and we teach it inside of our Facebook coaching and training program. And we give people the latest updates about what's going on, different things that are happening. I'm also on a Facebook advisory board with Facebook headquarters. So we get to, kind of get some insight on things that are being developed and going on. So for us, we really like to be at the forefront of the changes, the freshest strategies, proven strategies, and we teach everybody inside of there exactly what's going on. We have like 155 different training videos. We give you access to our ad design team. So my design team and my agency that creates really beautiful animated ads and static ads, everyone gets access to that. It's part of the package, no extra charge. They can order any unlimited amount of ads. They say, I need 50 open house ads that are really beautiful and animated. My team will basically build them out for you. And what I really love is that we have what's called our support calls. So every Monday and every Thursday, people jump onto our support calls and we do a screen share, kind of like this, but we do a screen share of going into your ad account and we check out your campaigns, your ads, tweak some of the ad copy, go through a different strategy, help you understand what the data, like what's frequency versus reach, how's the relevance score, what's the click-through rate, really getting you to fully understand what the algorithm is telling you and then how to really build around it. So that's what we love doing, and it's just kind of a fraction of what's there, but it's something that we really enjoy, which is helping people learn how to lead generate. Because when I first started, I didn't know what to do, and I was given a lot of bad advice and then kind of a sprinkle of some good advice here and there. Yeah. I want to be able to give people proven tactical strategies. And I think we're the only kind of Facebook coaching and training program for real estate that is actually runs, and Facebook advertising agency, right? We actually live it and breathe it, and we handle a lot of ad spend. So we get to see exactly what works and doesn't work. So it's not theory-based, it's just real actual campaigns. And then we give you the best ads, the best headlines, the best strategies to use. It's a ton of fun. There's a lot of people that share information. And of course, I love sharing it outside of the group as well. So if people just want like a little bit of information to kind of see what some of it's about, and you can get a lot of that for free from me, which is travisthom.com. That's a great place to go and kind of pick up some different training videos and different things that we kind of put out there that you don't need to sign up for.
That's awesome. Yeah, and like I know you've dropped plenty of stuff inside of our Facebook group, Next Level Agents, how-to videos on how to retarget people that have watched your videos to a certain extent. You've done a couple things, how to build a messenger bot for free. Like, you just constantly have been a giver. And the thing that I love about, and the reason why I'll continue to have people like you, and only people like you, if you will, on the show, is you're a practitioner too. Like, you're in the trenches, you've done it, you are doing it, and you're helping spread what you know that works to other people in our industry. And I absolutely love that, man. So I just want to let you know, on behalf of myself and Fred, we super appreciate you and everything you do for us, Travis.
Thank you, Kevin. I really appreciate that. My mission is to help educate agents at a higher level, hence our name, Elevated Real Estate Marketing. So
I love that.
It's my pleasure.
All right. So one last question. I'm going to leave it 90-second answer or less. Okay.
Yes.
This is hot seat. I ask everyone this. So three tips. I get this question to everybody. 3 tips for just kicking more ass at life. Doesn't matter if it's in business, personal, whatever, but someone comes to you, they're looking for advice. They're a friend of yours. Maybe they're a client of yours. They say, Travis, I just want to do better in life, in business, etc. Give me 3 things to walk away with that I can do today. What are they?
That's a great question. 3 things. I would practice saying no. I'd practice saying no to opportunities that you feel like would be energy or time vampires, right? More often than not, we're surrounded by too many opportunities. If you create them, and you got to say no to a lot to really solely focus and laser focus on one core thing. So if you spread too thin, you can't really get ahead. So you need to say no a lot and then say yes to yourself and really focus on those core things. Second thing I would do is challenge yourself in life to something that really scares you, to break out of any kind of limited belief or mindset that you have going on. For me, before I started my software company, I chose to swim from Alcatraz. I chose the most terrifying kind of thing I could do. And I swam from Alcatraz to the bay, this big swim, 1.7 miles, 52 degrees waters, freezing cold, it was dark. And I pushed myself to actually show up. You don't have to win, right? Just show up and participate, whatever it might be in life. It's, hiking a mountain, whatever it might be that can scare you.
Bro, there's sharks in there.
There are to some degree. Yeah, and that's part of it, right?
I'm from the Bay Area originally. I'm telling you, there are sharks in there. Man,
it makes you swim a hell of a lot faster knowing that. A hell of a lot faster. So do something, whatever it might be. Challenge yourself. It doesn't have to be next month, but go through the process of transformation, of setting a big goal that's not necessarily related to your business, but it's more of, I'm going to write a screenplay. I'm going to do a Facebook Live. I'm going to hike a mountain and get to the peak. Or, you don't have to get to the peak. Just show up to the game, right? Show up for yourself and try, right? That's the biggest thing that you can do. And then, my third would be take care of yourself and love yourself. I mean, really, a lot of people, I think we all have disbeliefs about what we can accomplish in life. And before you can really give back to others and be a leader, you need to be able to actually focus on yourself. And so be a bit selfish, invest in yourself, invest in your education, invest in self-care, because there's only one you, and this is our one time and one shot at life to really get it right. And so who do you want to be a hero to? And really focus on that kind of mindset, at the end of the day. Who do you want to be a hero to? I have my list, and sometimes I win and fail at it, but at least I'm trying and kind of setting the stage. So show up for the game, focus on those. I know that's a little bit more than 3, but those are my 3.
It's solid, man. Travis, man, I really appreciate your time. I told I'd get you out here at the top of the hour. It's 3:00 on the nose, our time. And so I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much, Travis Thom. Guys, check him out. Elevated REM Coaching. I will put the links everywhere. You will not miss it. And please share this episode with other people who could learn from Travis. If you just listen to this entire thing, you got a ton of value. And I'm sure you know somebody else who can as well from Travis and all he has to offer. So thanks, Travis. I appreciate you, man.
Kevin, thank you as well. Appreciate you as well, man. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, bud. Talk to you later.